the ceasefire is holding very much so, and I think people are surprised. And maybe someday they'll give me credit, but probably not. But it worked out well. They've been trying to do this for 100 years. That border is a mess for a long time. We pulled our soldiers out. We took over the oil. We have soldiers where the oil is. And that's the way I like it. And they can police their own border, and that's what they're doing. They can use other countries if they want to spend the time and energy they can do. But this is a border that's been under siege for many, many decades. And it was time for us to leave, and we left, and it's been holding very nicely, so we're very happy. We talked about that.
So Trump was talking to Angela Merkel. Hello, everybody. I have missed you. Is Angela? Guten Tag. Angela sitting there with Trump and they're talking about Syria. And a lot of journalists, of course, decided that they would bash Trump for saying that they've got the oil, or what Trump is saying, and this is one of the more frustrating and childish things that you continue to see from the media. What Trump is trying to say here is that they have secured the oil fields so that they cannot be used by the Islamic State, because the Islamic State needs money to pay its fighters, to buy weapons and supplies. So what he is saying is that the Islamic State won't be able to do that because we have soldiers that have grabbed the oil fields in eastern Syria to secure them, not to plunder them. This isn't, I'm seeing people say this is colonialist, but one of the annoying games that the left will not stop playing is that they act like they can't understand what Trump is really saying. They pretend that they have no ability to understand intent when he speaks. And it's, oh, yeah, Trump just, whatever he says is what he says. And now there's all this media focus on, this is on Drudge right now, Macron blasts stolen gossip footage, filmed without permission. Now Trump caught on hot mic gossiping about Trudeau. And Boris plays it safe. My friends, I sit here and I say to you, nobody will remember any of this in a day or two. This is just a media obsession. What I am hoping they will remember is that there will be a time at which we can go back and look at the way the Trump administration has gone about its foreign policy, and its foreign policy is just frankly superior to what we saw for 8 years of his predecessor, and I would argue what we saw under the Bush administration too. The Bush administration made decisions on the foreign policy front that are very hard to defend in retrospect. And, Trump comes back from this NATO summit. What really matters? And this is a recurring theme whenever we talk about this country, its politics, and how President Trump plays a role in all of this. What really matters? That there was this little interpersonal spat involving Trudeau and Trump and, who are these other, Macron and Trudeau. I wonder which one of them, if they have a contest to see who is more beloved by the left and by the fancy European types, who is more. I think they like, Trudeau has got a little more left-wing glamour. They like him a little bit more. But when you look at the way that NATO contributions are going to be already up over 120 billion, I think might be 140, and will be hundreds of billions when it's all said and done, because of pressure that Trump put on the alliance, essentially by publicly shaming them. You know what happens when you point out that people aren't doing what they're supposed to do? They tend to get a little bit upset. They tend to be unhappy with that. And so that there would be pushback from some of these leaders is not in the least bit surprising, because they're the ones being called out by a president in front of their own constituencies. So that's the reality. That they're going to, of course, be upset about this, and we should not be in the least bit surprised. So I think that Trump is doing a pretty good job when all's said and done on foreign policy, and he's not getting any credit for it whatsoever. He's doing a good job with NATO as well. People are saying that Trump is the biggest. When I say people, I mean like the heads of the Democratic Party. I mean the biggest media outlets in the country. I don't mean random, people. They're saying that this president is a threat to NATO, and that NATO may not survive beyond him. Meanwhile, NATO is actually thriving. One thing that I wanted to return to here for a second that I hadn't had a chance to spend as much time on as I did as I had initially intended to. Remember when there was this gun case the Supreme Court heard last week? Okay, this hits kind of close to home for me because I'm here in New York City, and I don't own a firearm here because the process is so annoying, and I'm busy, and that's what they hope. They hope that the process is so annoying and busy that you won't enjoy your Second Amendment rights. And for those of you that say, "Oh, Buck, how bad is it?" No, it's really bad. It's a lot of paperwork. It's expensive. It's time-consuming. You have to show up in person to one place in the whole city, and you got to wait until the person that doesn't even care to see you sits down with you and fingerprints you and everything else. And this is a perfect example of the way that liberals like to view the law. This was from the oral arguments about this New York City gun case. And, there won't be much media coverage of this, and nobody will really particularly care about that on the left, of course, because they don't want people to understand how absurd this is. But remember, this law that New York passed, that they then withdrew because they knew that the law was garbage, was that in New York City, it would be illegal for you to legally own a gun and leave the city with your gun to go to anywhere else in New York State. So they're creating this little special category of law where you can only have your gun in New York City. You can't have your gun in New York State, even though New York City is a part of New York State. So, and you have a Second Amendment right to have a firearm. So how do they square all this? And they pull the law. But what's so interesting is that the city of New York, its lawyers, were asked the question as to whether or not there would be, what the law actually means. When you're traveling with your firearm to go to a range, you have to take the most direct route. And so theoretically, you could be arrested. If you're staying at your buddy Bill's house and they find you with your locked legal firearm there, you would be in violation of law and could be arrested if you said, well, no, hold on, I'm going to a range tomorrow, because that would be an end run on their bizarre law, right? I mean, if it's just you can have a premise permit to the range and back. Well, what's to the range and back? What's the timeline? And this seems like it's in the minutiae of the law, but it's really not at all. Because the whole notion that you can only have it in your home, it can't leave your home, well, then how could you ever fire your gun? No, you need to be able to carry a weapon on you, folks. This is what this really comes down to. You need to be able to either open or conceal carry, but you have to be able to carry, or you have to at least be able to transport your weapon. In this case, it's not even open or concealed carry. It's just locked in a box, a locked ammunition box. But Justice Gorsuch asked this. This was from the transcript when the oral arguments were heard last week at the Supreme Court. I just want to circle back to the direct and continuous travel requirement of the current rule and Justice Alito's question about visiting your mother. Is it now the city's position that any reasonable stops are permissible? City's lawyer, Mr. Deering. That is our enforcement, reasonably necessary stops in the course of travel. Justice Gorsuch. Reasonably necessary. Mr. Deering. Yeah, permissible. Justice Gorsuch. Now, does that include stopping to visit your mother? Deering. I haven't, Justice Gorsuch. Or use the, and Deering says, I'm not sure I know the answer to that. Justice Gorsuch. What about getting a cup of coffee? I mean, is a cup of coffee reasonably necessary? Deering. Depends on who you ask. But the police department has affirmed, and we have made clear, the enforcement position is that a stop for a cup of coffee is not a problem. Okay, what I can represent, because it's come up before, coffee, restrooms, food, gas, and kinds of things that you ordinarily would stop for in the course of travel. I haven't considered the mother-in-law example before. I think that's going to need to play out in the courts. This is how liberals like laws to be, my friends, especially in an area where they want to create a perception of possible criminal jeopardy beyond the actual text of the law or beyond the initial intent of the law. One of the ways that they prevent people like me, and this is the same you'll see in many other cities and counties across the country, one of the ways they prevent people like me from getting a firearm is because when you really know the way that the left approaches firearms ownership and the law. They want it to be murky. They want it to be precarious. They want it to be unclear, uncertain whether, in fact, you are in compliance with the law. They would prefer that it be left up to their discretion whether or not you get prosecuted, because then somebody who is cautious, and especially if you're conservative and openly so, and don't feel like you're going to get a fair shake in the judicial system on an issue like this, which I do not believe that I would, you just say, well, if they can't even tell me what's legal and what's not, I don't want to subject myself to, well, go fight it out in court. Understand this. It needs to play out in the courts. This is the city's lawyer. This is, of course, a liberal city, liberal lawyer on a liberal anti-gun policy. What that means is, yeah, we're going to arrest some people. And when those people, after they've been arrested, facing felony gun charge, by the way, go to prison, they can take you to prison for this. Probably get processed, get taken down to what they call the tombs here. Maybe you get sent to Rikers for the weekend if you got to get held, if you can't get bail in time. And who knows? Rikers Island is the major prison facility here in New York. It's a scary place. But, it'll play out in the courts. This is capricious judicial tyranny, or this is capricious legal tyranny. This is what they want. They want you to never really know if you're in compliance or not, because then you err on the side of, well, I don't want to be involved in this. I don't want this to be something that I have to even think about, that I have to deal with. It's unacceptable to me to have to make these allowances for the state to imprison me. This should be, I hope the Supreme Court just slam. I mean, it's, by the way, of course, it's going to be 5-4 because the liberals in the court don't like guns. Doesn't matter. They don't believe the Second Amendment. They don't like guns. It doesn't matter what the law says. Doesn't matter what the precedents are. Anything gun related, Sotomayor and Kagan and Ginsburg, they're just going to every time. It's like clockwork. They hate guns. They hate gun owners. The whole thing. But I hope that the alleged conservative majority, though, Roberts, yet another. Who are the really good judges? Thomas, Alito. I think you could argue that Gorsuch is really solid. And I think that we'll have to see. But I think the Kavanaugh will be very good. We'll have to see. We don't know yet. But Roberts, iffy. Trump's judges, I think, better than the judges that were appointed by Bush, which is something we should all keep in mind. But I hope that they slam this down because there's a principle at work here. The state should not be passing felony statutes, or the city should not be enforcing felony city ordinances. I mean, sending people to prison or taking away people's freedom or even just taking away their firearm or giving them a fine. It doesn't matter. They should not be able to punish people under laws that they themselves do not know the extent of and are not certain about how they would be enforced. It makes a mockery of the law. And that they know is such a shaky law that they'll even pull a part of it before the Supreme Court can even review it. They shouldn't be playing these kinds of games. This is the part, the most intrusive part of the state, of government in your life, has to do with criminal law and regulations with the force of criminal law. That's the one place where you should be the most concerned. They talk about Trump, but Trump is not going to lock you up. Local police in a blue majority city, in order to make a point, especially if you're like a reasonably successful, middle-class, tax-paying individual who happens to be a Republican and owns firearms, if they can make an example of you, and I remember the Witteshek case in D.C., I remember talking to that guy. They wanted that because D.C., New York, same politics. They wanted to send this father and businessman with no criminal record to prison because he had a spent shotgun shell cartridge in his home. And I think also replica 50 caliber ammunition for a flintlock or black powder rifle. So essentially a little ball, like a lead ball. He had that just as a keepsake from when he went shooting in Virginia. They wanted to send him to prison for that. This is idiocy. But it's intentional. It's viciousness too, because they know that that's what happens. And that's why when I saw this, you're asking the city of New York, hey, if you have your firearm, your legal firearm that you've gone through all the hoops to get, and you stop to get a cup of coffee, can the cops arrest you if they find out that you got a firearm and you're stopping to get a cup of, because that's not going to the range. No, we've told the cops they probably shouldn't arrest you for that. Okay, what if you stop at your mother-in-law's house? You got to bring her medication. Let's let that play out in the courts. Oh, okay. So you get to get arrested. If you're that guy, someone out there is going to get arrested under this policy, and then it's up to them to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and go through all this nonsense. So then eventually the city could be like, okay, well, maybe we won't ruin your life and throw you in prison, with rapists and murderers because you stopped at grandma's house or your mother-in-law's house on your way to the range with your gun in a lockbox. Welcome to the left-wing tyranny that they want for all of us. Team, I'm sorry to inform you all that we let, and if you were watching on Pluto TV, you might have even seen it, we let producer Brandon try to set up so that he could say hi to Bon Jovi, because producer Brandon is living on a prayer right now. He's very happy about this. We had Bon Jovi in the vicinity. Does have good hair, I will say. Gray, but flowing, luxurious. And producer Brandon tried to get it, but he disappeared on us, man. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
He got out of here before you could get that selfie with him. You were going to get a selfie for Team Buck.
I was.
Didn't manage to get it done. Next time, though.
I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of like a fanboy, I guess, even though I've been in radio for like 15 years.
So
I like to get photos with people. That's what I do.
Right. I mean, the only thing that would get me excited is when hopefully newly divorced Jessica Biel comes in here. I'm not going to ask for a selfie. I'm going to ask for a phone number. She'll say no, but hey. Brandon, I got to ask you, man, if there's one rock star that we could make appear, only one, in the iHeart offices here in New York City for you to meet and selfie with, who would it be?
Axl Rose. No question
Number
about
one.
it.
Oh,
number one.
I'm talking, what if we could even resurrect some members of the Beatles if necessary?
To resurrect? I mean,
Elvis Presley?
Lennon, probably.
Wait.
John Lennon?
Oh, John Lennon. I was like Soviet Lennon?
I know it's a political show,
Yeah,
but no,
yeah,
John
yeah.
Lennon.
Okay, John Lennon. That would be your all. So all time would be John Lennon, but right now living would be
Axl, I think.
Axl Rose.
Or maybe Ozzy.
I will say Bon Jovi has aged better than Axl Rose.
Yeah.
Bon Jovi gets a lot of
say.
rest. Fair enough, man. All right. Well, anyway, I hope you're enjoying the show today, folks. Make sure you check out, if you're listening to this on radio, Pluto TV. Download the app. It's totally free. Channel 248, Pluto TV. Please do check us out. I'm on. Jesse Kelly's on. We're going to have some new shows joining in the weeks ahead. And also, if you are listening on radio and you want to listen earlier in the day and you want to always know that you can listen whenever you want on demand, subscribe to the Buck Sexton Show on iTunes or on the iHeartRadio app. We watch those podcast numbers. They're going up, up, up each month because of all of you. So please also tell somebody, hey, check out the Buck Sexton Show. It's a huge... that is my Christmas and birthday gift this month from you guys. Tell one person to download the Buck Sexton Show. I got to say, I was watching, just trying to, because I'm writing this book, Crushing the Commies. I can't call it that. It's going to be something about socialism in America, but the book is more than halfway done, so it's coming along. I got to write a lot this month. But I took a little break, and I just flipped on the TV, and I saw GoldenEye of the James Bond series. And I got to tell you something. The GoldenEye video game is better than the GoldenEye movie. The GoldenEye movie is really corny. But the GoldenEye video game, my brothers and I played that thing on Nintendo 64. I mean, I was incredible. I would play as Odd Job, and I'm telling you, I could have beaten, like at those little tournaments where they have people that actually play for money. I feel like in my heyday, I would have been able to win a GoldenEye tournament. Of course, my little brother, if he's listening to this right now, would claim that he's better than me at it, which might be true, but hopefully he's missing out on this part of the show today, because he'll call me out because he was good at it as well. But I was watching that, and then I saw today that there is advertisement finally for the final. What's this guy? Who's this guy's name? What's his name? The new Bond? Daniel Craig. I got it. Daniel Craig. No Time to Die. So the trailer is out for it. Maybe we'll have on, I don't know. Who'd be fun to have on? Jesse Kelly later on in the week to talk to him about the one and only Jesse Kelly is also on Pluto TV, channel 248, the first. Plug it, because I think that Daniel Craig, the first James Bond he did was kind of new and fresh, and it was a nice restart of it. I think it's just gone pretty much downhill from there. I thought that the plots, the bad guys have been kind of ridiculous. The plots have been hard to follow. The one where there was like a water, he's in South America, there's like almost like a climate change theme to the whole thing was just absurd. Just absurd. It wasn't a very good one. But I'm hoping. Do we know who the new James Bond is going to be? I remember it was going to be Idris Elba for a little bit, and then it wasn't. Right? Who's producer Brandon? Tell me who the new James Bond will be. Because I think this is a series that people should remember and all that stuff. It's there's some good episodes. There is the discussion always about whether Sean Connery or Roger Moore or Timothy Dalton. I think he was weak as James Bond. But do we know who the Bond's number is up? Wait,
there are rumors that it's going to be a British actor. What is it? Lashana Lynch.
I didn't know who this is.
So
okay.
they're going.
So a female African American.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Pardon me. A female black British actor.
That's the rumor mill.
That's the rumor right now. Okay. All right. Interesting. I did not know that. We'll have to see how it goes. I'm also producer Brandon. Are you going to watch The Irishman? This is the other thing I've kind of got to think about. I don't know. I don't know if I don't like all this like, hey, you do the thing with the thing. You go to place with the person. You talk to Vinny. You talk to Vinny Two Fingers
Vinny
about
Boo
Tommy
Bots.
Five Fingers. I mean,
I feel like I have to because everyone's
so
talking.
You haven't
about
watched it yet?
Not yet. I got to invest a lot of time because isn't it like 4 hours or something?
Yeah, people are saying that it's a long haul to get through.
They might as well have made that like a series, not a movie.
I mean, I will say I respect Goodfellas. Like I will watch.
Yes.
Goodfellas is on, and I feel like it's one of these movies that's on TV all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever it's on, I don't watch it all the way through now, but I'm like, all right, it's good. I got to watch like 20 minutes of this now. I've seen it so many times. And it's funny to me, too, because I really don't like I don't think any of the characters, they're not good people. They're all bad people. There's really no one to root for. Like, even Henry Hill's a bad guy. And if you know his story, he did bad stuff even after he kind of got out and was in witness protection and all this other stuff. So these are not good people, but it's very entertaining. It's just really well written.
It's like The Sopranos.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
Tony Soprano wasn't a good person, I guess, but
no, these mob guys are all really bad. This is what people kind of forget in these things.
Anti-hero.
Yeah, but they're not. They always do this thing in these movies where they have the mob guy, but he's got a code. And he's really just going, that's actually not true. These mob guys like go into, deli owners' place of business. If you don't pay the protection money, they like break your fingers in front of your wife. I mean, they're not good people. So I feel like there's a little bit of a hero worship around the mob
some
stuff.
Some traits you might like,
Yeah, like everyone knows, like the Russian mafia, it's like you pay or you die. Like no one's like, oh yeah, the Russian mafia is like, no, we don't involve civilians in our, turf wars or something. The Italian mafia did bad stuff too, very bad stuff. It's not good people. Anyway, I'm a little off the, the tracks on that one. Everybody else is like, oh, I just love all this stuff so much. I think these mob movies are amazing. I think Casino it's an entertaining movie. It's a really depressing movie. They're all bad people. These mobsters are bad people. I don't know. This is what I kind of get a little, I get a little bit, people look at me like I'm the hall monitor here of media. But I'm not saying don't watch these movies. I've seen them a ton of times. I just sometimes feel like there's not enough of an understanding that these characters are really bad guys. It does remind me of how when the movie Wall Street came out, Oliver Stone was very upset to find out afterwards that people love and idolize Gordon Gekko. He's supposed to be the bad guy in the movie, and everyone's like, this guy walks around with suspenders and French cuff shirts. He's got fast cars, beach houses, and beautiful women at his beck and call. I think I want to be Gordon Gekko. People did not have the intended moral takeaway from that movie. I mean, that is, by the way, I think Michael Douglas's best role of all time. So I'll let you know. I'll probably bring somebody in here. We'll maybe talk a little bit of Bond stuff. I haven't really thought the Daniel Craig movies recently have been particularly worthwhile. I get asked, what are the best CIA movies? I think the best CIA movie for me, I really like Spy Game, which is actually a Redford and Brad Pitt, Robert Redford and Brad Pitt movie I think Spy Game is very entertaining for what it is. Well done. I think that the Bond series is iconic, so you can't, if you add it together as a totality of work, it's pretty incredible. Then I would say Zero Dark 30 is really good. Really good movie for what it is. I enjoyed it, and there's enough realism that it's not completely absurd. Don't even get me started on Jack Ryan season 2. I haven't even finished it yet. I'm done. I can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. I've tried. It's just too bad. It's too crappy. John Krasinski or whatever really let me down on that one, so it makes me sad. And I don't know. I think we're gonna have to just. I don't think I'm gonna watch The Irishman. I don't think I'm gonna get around to it anytime soon. I have too much other good stuff. I haven't even gotten to Peaky Blinders season 5 yet. Peaky Blinders, amazing show. I'm a big Peaky. It is hard to understand them. You probably should watch it with subtitles. It's a little bit like when they interview the guys from Oasis. They're like, oh, you know what I mean? Blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And you're like, where are you guys from? You're from England? This is where the language comes from, and this is the mumbling that you do is supposed to be English? It's absurd.
Like
Liam
movies,
and Noel Gallagher, right? Those guys?
Yeah. Like
They don't speak English. I don't know what they speak.
If you watch like Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, you don't understand. Or Snatched.
I remember that. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually thought that when Brad Pitt did his accent in Snatch, I was like, this is absurd. Nobody sounds like that. And then travelers, as they prefer to be called, travelers, not gypsies. Travelers in the UK, I actually heard interviews with, they became, I think, in part well known because of that movie, or better known. And then there's these like series, there's like a TLC series, like Travelers with not the gypsy. Don't say gypsy. That's bad. They don't like gypsy. They punch people over that. And apparently they're very good fighters, so you don't want to get into it with them. But they do sound, that is the accent. His accent was actually, the way that he speaks in that movie is kind of the way that they speak, which is not strictly speaking English. I think it's some version.
Closed captioning.
Some version of English. All right, that's our little pop culture diversion today. Let's get to roll call.
It's time for roll call.
Roll call. You know it. Everybody, let's get to it in the roll call time, which is always fantastic. So let's see what we got here. All right. Well, that one's too long. Carolyn, big fan from Canada. You are so funny. You make me laugh out loud. I hope one day you do marry. You seem like a catch. Cheers. Well, Carolyn from Canada, thank you very much. This is a very nice message to start the show with today. And I also hope that I marry. And I would like to think I'm a catch. Perhaps a handful, but a catch. And I'm glad that you laugh at the show. We try to have some fun. I know we do serious stuff. We try to have fun on here, too. I mean, people spend a lot of time in the hut. I mean, we hang out together a lot. I love it when people send me emails that say they've downloaded a whole week of shows and held it until they had a long road trip or something, and they just wanted to, they just listened to like 7 or 8 hours of the Buck Sexton show while they're in the car. I'm like, this is great. It's like I'm hanging out with them. It's like we're road tripping together, except I get to sit at home in my pajamas watching Netflix and ordering Thai food, two of my absolute favorite activities, and going to the gym, theoretically. Let's see here. Erica writes, I like your insult of aggressively stupid, but try my favorite version, extra special kind of stupid. Erica, perhaps I will manage to work that one into the rotation. Thank you so much. Roger, the Young Turks also deny the Armenian genocide happened. Does that make them deniers? Yeah, the Young Turks is not an honorable organization, so do not. I mean, I do not find that Cenk is unwilling to talk and exchange with the other side, and he can show manners when he chooses to. But some of his employees are just horrible individuals. They really are, and the people that like that site are trash. Not all of them, of course. I'm sure there's some nice people, but like mostly bad people. And some of them, I'm sure, are nice people. I think it's the second time I managed to work that into the show today. I like that. Yeah. Michael, just came across Men at Work on YouTube. Now the whole team can weigh in on its merits. No, man, we know that we come from a land down under where women something and men plunder or whatever, whatever the lyrics. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Something about a Vegemite sandwich. Vegemite is disgusting, by the way. It is it's disgusting too. It's appalling.
I got to see Colin Hay, who's the lead singer of Men at Work. He's part of Ringo's all-star band this past summer.
Really?
Just a little tidbit. I'll share that with you.
Real quick, Ringo is obviously alive.
Oh yeah, he's alive. He has an all-star band. People from Styx and just like a lot of random, all-stars in the rock and roll world.
Look at that, man. Look at you. We got to put out a call. We got to somehow get someone in the Freedom Hut to get Axl Rose to come in here for an interview, just so we could watch Brandon's whole universe, cross the streams and everything. We'll find him. Do we have enough reach? I mean, we've gotten cabinet members. I've interviewed the president. We'll get Axl Rose at some point.
I'm sure you two.
When's your birthday?
September. So it just passed.
All right. Well, we got time. We got time then.
Okay.
Maybe next September.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. If we get Axl Rose to come in here.
Oh, you would make
and do
headlines everywhere.
Well, of course, but also we just get him to weigh in on his favorite. I don't even care if he hates Trump. Doesn't matter to me at all. Just get him to weigh in on politics for fun. Be like, if Welcome to the Jungle came out today, would that change the political discourse?
Sure.
Just add try to bring him into the conversation.
I think that would be great.
Yeah, well, we're going to work on it. I'm sure somebody out there, Axl Rose's freedom-loving, all-American grandma probably listens to the Buck Sexton show, and right now she's like, I'll get young Axl to come on into the show. We could totally get this to happen.
All right.
I'll
dream.
We're working on it.
Living under prayer.
We tried to get Bon Jovi from today, but Bon Jovi is too fancy. He had to run out of here. Whatever. I do not have... Where do we go here? I do not have... Okay, yes, sorry. Tim, you nailed it yesterday on the social credit score tyranny. China is all over it. Yeah, no, Tim, I know it's true, man. China's doing some very scary stuff these days, and I wish people would pay closer attention to it. China is the real concern for us. Russia is a concern, but we could over time. Think of where Russia. I meant to bring this up yesterday. Actually, look at where Russia is now. Look at where the Soviet Union was 30 years ago. If you look at the trajectory of U.S.-Russia relations, we're much closer to Russia than we were in living memory. U.S.-Russia relations have gotten leaps and bounds better. We were staring at each other talking about annihilation in living memory, and for a long time. Now, we have our differences with them, but we would like to be America in 20 years. Being friendly with the Russians the same way we're friendly with the French or friendly with, would be a good thing. That doesn't mean that we can just concede on everything and let the Russians do whatever they want, of course. But if you're talking about what would be in America's interest, that's in America's interest. Trying to have this continuous showdown, all to assuage the ego of Hillary Clinton and her voters from 2016 is a very bad idea. But now I'm getting away from roll call. Here we go. David writes, I'm watching on Pluto TV. You and Jesse are great, but turn up the volume. Please normalize your shows to match the commercials on the channel. I hope you get this message. Something can be done. Why do we have all these volume issues, Producer Brandon? What is going on here, man?
They got to give me and Mark timestamps of when this is happening, because when I load stuff in, when he loads stuff in, it's a nice brick of sound.
I mean, I just want to take all the complaints and I want to print them out, and then I want to airdrop them on the beach while Producer Mark is sunning himself with his new lovely bride. He's all having fun. Who's here manning the front lines of freedom, Producer Brandon? That's right. This duo right here.
I mean, sometimes, when you watch TV, the commercials are louder than the show. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's on their end, but on our ends, I mean, unless it's one of your sound clips.
I don't know. I wish somebody could fix this.
Give us a timestamp.
Speaking of Producer Mark, Stefan writes, congratulations to Producer Mark. Indeed, Producer Mark. At least somebody in the Freedom Hut is. Well, you're not married yet, right? No. At least somebody in the Freedom Hut's married. Well, one of us is doing the whole adult thing. Sarah writes, hey, Buck, love the show. Great work. My question for you is, what would it take to start a social media campaign to demand an apology from the Dems for President Trump? I know he'll never get it. Yeah, Sarah, he'll never get it. That's never going to happen, I got to tell you. Their Ukrainian quid pro quo fishing expedition is also a hoax. They got nothing, and out of pure shame, they should be compelled to apologize for the smear campaign that they have had against President Trump. Sarah, I agree with your sentiments. I am frustrated too, but it is what it is. So thank you so much. Team, that's going to be the show for today. I hope you realize this is like the best podcast / radio show / simulcast on video ever. Tell your friends about it. Shields high.